have heard that some of your books are going to be on screen. So can you share with us which ones and any specific characters in your wish list? So can you please share that?
Uh, in that way, okay. So Maya's New Husband is signed up for a screen production. There were some others also, but since we have spoken about Maya's New Husband now, it is in the talks for since it was released.
Okay.
I don't know which actor will play the role because that I cannot say. But when I was writing the book, I was in my mind Bhaskar Sadachari was Nawazuddin Siddiqui. So I
Okay.
was just thinking about Nawaz in my mind, and I was thinking about his personality, his body, his mannerisms, and it was all there. I wanted to take him in the role. It really helped me write the book also. So it would be fun if the movie also ends up having Nawazuddin Siddiqui at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm waiting to. So moving on to your next book, Right Behind You. How did this book came up and how you enjoyed writing it?
Okay, so this is right behind you,
Wow.
and yeah, it has got a very scary cover. The cover is designed by my literary agent, Book Bakers.
Okay.
So the story behind Right Behind You is that I wanted to show my readers that there were many different flavors in horror. So, like horror is not just paranormal, it is not just gore, it is not just supernatural, but there were a lot of different flavors. So, I wanted to encapsulate all those flavors in one book. So that is how the idea of Right Behind You came about. So this has 13 stories, and each story is in a different kind of horror space. So, like one of the stories takes from a lore. It is the Teen Mundi lore, the three-headed witch.
Okay.
This kind of legend was there in Mumbai in the 1990s. So that is a lore, urban legend. So that urban legend is the first story. Then I have a story which is very psychological. It has no demons. Then there is a story which is just a chat story, horror playing out on chat. Then another story which has paranormal, means the booth, exact, the uh, traditional kind of horror that we know about, the conventional horror. So this is the way I built the stories of Right Behind You, different subgenres, just to make new readers of Indian horror aware that there were so many different things in horror that can happen. So the book has been received very well. It is even now, like that. All my books are within the top 100 of Amazon at any time. But Right Behind You has been consistently doing well, and to be frank, I have not gotten the time to promote Right Behind You very well also. But even then, the readers pick it up and they are enjoying the stories because after reading one kind of story, you're getting into another flavor. So that's it. And very recently, like just 2020, at the end of it, I got an Audible deal for it, Amazon Audible deal on it, and it has been picked up now to be an audiobook. So very soon, Right Behind You will also be an audiobook. So
Okay.
very excited.
Yeah, I'm also excited. So, how could I miss this amazing book, Yakshini? Many people are impressed by its beautiful cover picture. Even me, I wanted to buy it for just for the cover itself. So, share some experience about Yakshini.
Sure, because Yakshini is definitely very close to my heart.
Yeah.
So this is the cover. This is Yakshini and has been published by Rupa Publications. So Yakshini happened in 2019.
Okay.
I wrote the story in 2017, but it was published in 2019. So Yakshini is the story of a girl named Meenakshi. She is 15 years old. She is in Maharashtra and she is the youngest of seven daughters in a Patil family, traditional Maharashtrian Patil family. Now the thing is, as she is growing up at 15, she has a growth spurt. So she is now looking like a woman. She looks older than her elder sisters, and there is something within her. There is a supernatural thing within her, and that is there is a Yakshini that is staying in her body. So we know, we are acquainted with the lore of the Yakshini, what the Yakshini is. People propitiate the Yakshini for different blessings, but Yakshinis are believed to be temperamental. So Yakshinis, if you do the prayer propitiation properly, then the Yakshini will give you a blessing. But if the Yakshinis are incited, then they will also give you a curse. So this kind of Yakshini is living in in the body of this girl, Meenakshi. So as Meenakshi grows, the male gaze falls upon her. You know, men. It's a male-oriented society, and whenever that happens, it is the Yakshini that comes out. Her Yakshini counterpart, which is in her body, it emerges, and it takes revenge against those men. So this is in a brutal way. That is how it happens. But then the Yakshini is suppressed, and it is Meenakshi left on the scene where the man is brutalized or killed, and the blame of it falls upon Meenakshi. So this is the entire crux of the story. It's a Jekyll and Hyde story, where the Doctor Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, two entities living in one body. It's a human and a Yakshini. So there is also a very interesting story of, not interesting, I would say it is very painful, how the idea germinated in my mind. So this idea has been on my mind since many, many, many years, even before I became an author. And it started from the Nirbhaya rape case, the case that was splashed all over in the newspapers, and it became headline news. And it was very painful to me to read. As I read each and every, I read a lot of those articles, and how the girl was brutalized by a gang of men in a bus. That really shocked me. Like, how demonic can humans get? Now, at that time, an idea occurred to me that, what if this girl, she has something in her to fight back? If she could do that, then how would the equation be? And how would she do it? So that is where I that idea came to me, that okay, if a Yakshini is there in her, if a spirit is there in her, a spirit goddess, you would say, is there in her, and takes revenge on the spot, saves her. But then will society take the girl? I'm going to consider the girl to be a victim or a culprit. How it would be? How would the society's viewpoint be about that girl? Because this witch hunting that goes on. So it's a very complex story. So this is what Yakshini is about. I know that I am not doing a good job of explaining what Yakshini is, because the story is so layered. There are so many layers in the story that it comes out only in the writing. Like in a 1 minute or 2 minute description of the story, I cannot effectively convey to you what the story is about. But Yakshini has been my most well loved book, most well reviewed book, if you see Amazon Goodreads. And also, Yakshini has gone on for a major screen adaptation. So the rights have been signed, and yeah, so a lot of discussions are going on. And I'm sure to see, Yakshini in some form other than the book soon. So this is it. This is Yakshini. And if you want a kind of story, a horror story, which has a lot of supernatural elements in it, it has mythology. Yakshini is full on mythology, because, of course, Yakshini comes from mythology. And then drama, and then a lot of relationships, because Yakshini is Meenakshi has relationships with men, because and the Yakshini interferes in those relationships as well. So, as I told you, a blessing as well as a curse. So that kind of story. It is, yeah, very close to my heart.
Waiting to read that story. Seriously, I wanted to read it.
Okay.
And so, moving on to your next book, What the Eyes Don't See. Share some words about this book too.
What the eyes don't see?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this happened last year, What the Eyes Don't See, and I don't have the cover for it, for the reason that this is a digital book. It is not on in paperback. So you will find What the Eyes Don't See on Wattpad. Wattpad India. Wattpad is a huge story sharing website, and it is an American website. The Indian counterpart, they invited me to write a story for them. And I had this beautiful story of a paranormal kind of thriller, What the Eyes Don't See. That is what I wrote for them. And the story did very well. Like on the first day itself, we hit 10,000 reads. So, what the story is about is it's a story about a man, Anay Ghosh, who is living alone in Mumbai, and he's in a hotshot job. He has got a house of his own, he has got a girlfriend, and he has got everything that a guy will need, who is in his early 20s. So he's like this hotshot upswing guy. Okay.
Okay.
But what happens is there is something that is shadowing him. People say that around you we see a shadow of a man, another man. This guy does not see anything. But there is somebody stalking him. And this stalker is a ghost because he cannot see him, but others can see. And this makes his life miserable. Makes his life miserable when even when he's in public or when he's in elevators, when he is also in the at his home, also when he's when with his girlfriend for that matter.
Okay.
So Anay Ghosh, he is the main character, he gets so depressed by this entire thing. So we are among it's a very psychological book also because we are touching upon a lot of emotional points here. So the boy gets depressed. I would say boy because he's in his early 20s and he gets depressed. He thinks of having also the ultimate step that people do take under these circumstances because when this haunting happens, everything that he had goes away from him. His house goes away, his job goes away, even his relationship suffers. So, what has he done wrong that such a thing is happening to him? What has he done wrong? So, the story is all about that. That is the secret of the book, and it did very well again. Again, picked up for a screen adaptation, but it is still being agented for it. So, major news coming on that front as
Very, very interesting. I just continue waiting for the more from
well.
you. Yeah.
What the eyes don't see, it started in my mind as a movie concept because I was contacted by a producer to write a story for a movie, and it was at that time that I had developed What the Eyes Don't See. For some reasons, because of COVID and all, the movie was stalled, could not happen, and then I decided to write it as a book. So a lot of people have told me that this is very much. It looks like a film. When you are reading it, it looks like a movie playing out.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you that.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to your next book, Rengaringa Roses. So share some words about this book.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I don't have a cover for this. It's a digital book available on Amazon.
Okay.
So we all know this childhood rhyme, right? Ringa Ringa Roses. We all used to play that. But the nursery rhyme has a very unsettling history, like how this ring around the roses, how this came about. So it all comes from the Black Plague, of the 1700s, which I have mentioned in my book. So from that it came on, and today's children they sing around Ringa Ringa Roses without knowing anything about this plague which had killed 1 lakh people in those days, which was a huge number. It had wiped almost half of Europe. So what I wanted to do, what I set out to do was to write stories around children as protagonists. So I wanted to write those, and I had a lot of stories in my mind. I myself, as a child, was very cowardly. I was scared of everything. I was scared of darkness. I was scared of being alone. I was scared of anything, any shadow moves. I would be scared. So like that, I was as a child. So children have phobias. Everyone has. Especially children who are alone a lot of time. We have a lot of phobias. So I wanted to write stories about children conquering their phobias. So I did not want to show my children as defeatists. I wanted to show my children as heroes. So I wanted to show them that they have phobias, they have fears, but they face it and they come out of it. So that is what Ringa Ringa Roses is about. Three stories, and all the three stories have children as their main protagonists. And the first story, Children of the Walls, that is my own phobia. I had that phobia as a child. So when you read it, you'll come to know what it is. So, but my children have triumphed over that, and again Ringa Ringa Roses is doing has done quite well. The one of the stories from the book, The Clay Mother, it has been signed on for a screen adaptation. I know I am just telling that there were a lot of screen adaptations, but that is how my books have done. So I'm very fortunate. That's why I said I'm very lucky and fortunate because people have noticed the books and stories. And also it recently got an Audible deal for an audiobook. So these are the things that have happened. And this was a book that was not even on my mind in 2019 when I was starting because I did not plan to write it in that year. But then COVID happened and lockdown happened, and I thought that I should write a book which is not, which is horror, but it should not be so scary. I don't want to write a very dark book. Let me write an optimistic horror book where everything, the hero wins at the end, and my hero will be children. So that is how the book happened. So I did not have this in my plan of things, but then Ringa Roses I wrote it during the lockdown. So I call it as my lockdown book.
Okay, that was nice. And so, from your recent release book, The Spirit Talks to Me and Haunted, share some interesting fact about these books too.
Yes, sure. And these are two major books, major productions. So this is The Spirits Talk to Me, recently released, and it's with Sarbajit Mohanty, who is my co-author on this book, and it's released with Hachette India. And this book is Haunted. So Haunted has been talked about a lot on social media. You can just check Haunted. Again, this is with Jayalani. He's my co-author, and published with Penguin Random House India. So, what are these two books about? These two are non-fiction. In these books, I am telling the stories of paranormal investigators. So Jay Alani is one of India's most famous paranormal investigators. He is also a podcaster. He has got many shows on Ghana.com and so Hubhopper. So what do paranormal investigators do? They go to these haunted locations and they try to figure out whether they were really ghosts or spirits or not. They try to uncover the mysteries. The second book, The Spirits Talk to Me, in that my paranormal investigator co-author is Sarbajit Mohanty. So he is also a very, very famous paranormal investigator. He had this show of his own, Mana Ki Na Mana, in Odia TV. So that was a Kalinga channel. That was the name of the channel. And he has a team of people known as, their company is known as Pairs. So what these people do is they go to all the haunted locations of India. So they go to Kuldhara, Bhangad. The names of these places themselves are scary.
Yeah.
And all these places they go, they spend a night. They try to see whether there are really spirits there. What actually happens in those places? What is this darkness about? Yeah. So they try to find out all these things, and it is very, very interesting to know the journeys of these people, because what motivates them to leave everything, the comfort of their home, and go in that khandar and explore the whole night. So that was something that used to fascinate me, and that is how I got around to talking to these people. And after that, when I found out things from them, it was shocking, because till that time I was just a fiction writer, so I was creating the horrors in my mind. But when you actually talk to people who are doing such stuff, you come to know that what it is doing, it is incomparable. It's any horror that you can imagine cannot touch the kind of thing that reality is. And like Jay Alani once took me to a haunted tunnel in Shimla, just as an example. That tunnel has a ghost of an English colonel, English engineer who built that tunnel. His ghost is still there. So he took me to that tunnel, and he took me there in broad daylight. But even in daylight, it is in Shimla. It's the biggest tunnel of Shimla, the Badok tunnel. You can just look it up on Google. Even in the daylight, it is completely dark in there. And if you move even a little inside, few steps, you will feel such a negative vibe that it will push you back. You'll not be able to, feel like entering the tunnel. So that was the kind of thing. Now imagine Jai has gone to the tunnel in the night and he has stayed there the whole night in that tunnel, in the darkness, pitch black darkness. So such are the stories that I have, taken in these two books. And of course, Shanmuga, you asked me in the beginning whether I get scared of writing stories, my own stories. Yes, Maya's new husband scared me, but much more than that, the scare was in writing these two books, Haunted and The Spirits Talk to Me. My co-authors would share audio transcripts with me, and I would shut the lights in my room and just listen to the audio, and my mind would transport me to that scene, to that location, Kuldara, Mayong, wherever. And there I would also be in that scene. It was so scary. I would get shivers and goosebumps when listening to the stories. But then I wrote it, and These are the scariest experiences. You must definitely, if you are a horror fan and if you have not read Haunted and the Spirits Talk to Me, then you are really losing out on something. You're missing out on something. You must definitely pick up these two books.
Yeah, of course I will read them. And okay, we are at the end. We are in the final question. So, what are you writing next? And please share some tips for the upcoming budding writers.
I have a lot of things coming out. I have signed some contracts with publishers. I will not be able to disclose the names, but I can tell you like what kind of stories I'm writing. So one of them that is coming out shortly is a psychological thriller. It's a digital thriller of a woman who is stalked by her ex-boyfriend on social media. So for the first time, I am writing a digital thriller, and it is fun. So this I can share the title of this book, that is Sapna's Bad Connection. So you must have noticed that all my protagonists are female. So I generally I love having women protagonists in my stories. So Sapna's Bad Connection is a story that is coming out this year for sure. And another book that I have just very recently signed with a major publishing house I is a young adult horror. So it is horror for a younger age, like the Harry Potter age, as we can say. Again, fun to write for that age group. And yes, also I'm working on Maya's New Husband 2. So the sequel of Maya's New Husband, which I have been working on since 2015. I am very sure that I'll be able to finish it and release it this year. I hope to do it somewhere during August. So yeah, three books. That's a full palette.
Okay, it's really, I'm waiting. All the very best, sir.
You asked me for the tips. So I would just say one tip, just because I know we are running short of time, but
Yeah,
just one tip. If you read horror, well and good. If you don't read horror, please do, because horror is not a kind of genre that you have to shun. You have to accept it. I myself was a coward, but after writing horror and reading horror, today I can face any kind. I don't have any phobias, and I can face fears. So it makes you bolder. That is what I think. So please do write and read horror both. Challenge your own limits, and you'll be a better author for it.
sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for this
Thank you
opportunity.
so much.
I hope to have more interactions with you in future, sir, for your upcoming books. It's really a great pleasure to interact with an author like you. And I hope this interaction will inspire both the readers as well as writers.
Yes, thank you so much, and all the best for your channel as well. I
Thank,
had great fun talking to you.
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye bye.